This is why I started this channel. This past weekend, I took my dad to Chicago for his birthday. We didn't want to fly, both because of the cost and the risk of late winter weather disrupting our flight. And while we could have driven, it's pretty far, and we just didn't want to have the car once we were in Chicago. The transit's just so good, you don't even really want a car while you're in Chicago. So I came up with an elaborate plan to let us take Amtrak to Chicago. Why did it need to be elaborate? Well, it turns out that neither Columbus, where I live, nor Dayton, where my dad lives, have Amtrak service. And most of the cities in Ohio only have middle-of-the-night trains. The exception, Toledo, which has 2 early morning trains, as you'll hear more about in the video. My wife needed our car that weekend, so I took the bus to Dayton, then carpooled with my family from Dayton to Toledo. But even Toledo's Amtrak service is not ideal. So we had to stay in a hotel and wake up really early to get the train to Chicago. As you'll see, it was a bit of an adventure. I'm glad we were able to take the train to Chicago, but it's insane to me that we don't have better options to travel between small and mid-sized cities in the Midwest. We need Amtrak service in Columbus and other mid-sized cities, and we need more frequent and better timed service in Cincinnati, Cleveland, and other cities. Last, as you'll see, other cities could learn a ton from Chicago's excellent transit, including its inner-city commuter rail. Welcome to Heartland Urbanist. Let's go. My day starts with a short walk from my house to the Coda bus on my way to go pick up my bus to Dayton. I almost had a heart attack because the transit app was saying that the bus had already left and there was no remaining bus that would get me there on time, despite the fact that I'd intentionally picked the second to last bus that could get me there on time. But I see the bus now. It must just not be showing up on the GPS. So we're gonna be fine, but one of the perils of trying to get around on public transit in a city that could do a lot better when it comes to bus frequency and reliability. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Okay, downtown now. Got a 1-block walk to where my bus is supposed to pick up. It's not the nicest day. Could be colder though, and while it's a little wet, at least it's not icy or snowy. Here's beautiful downtown Columbus on a very gray Friday morning. All right, looks like we're in the right place. This is weird. We're right outside what used to be the Greyhound terminal, but it was recently closed by the city because it was like a den of crime or something insane. And now the bus system is trying to buy it. I have no idea what's happening. It's very strange. But there's just a set of folks out here with me. I'm waiting for the bus. All right, officially, here we go. Welcome to Huber Heights, just outside of Dayton, Ohio. It's a blustery, rainy day. There's the bus that I just got off. I'm gonna find a place to do some work for a little while, get some tea, and then later this afternoon, I'll meet up with my family and we'll be off to Toledo for the next leg of our trip. That took really under an hour. It was fast. It was comfortable. I got some work done. There was Wi-Fi on the bus. It didn't work very well. I just used my hotspot. Honestly, it wasn't terrible. Of course, they dropped us off at a gas station outside of a strip mall in a suburb of Dayton, so that's not ideal. Trying to find a place to work. Got dropped off over there at the gas station. Started walking toward a Starbucks that was on the map. Turns out that was inside a grocery store. Certainly not going to be able to work there. Now I am walking to another Starbucks that is close, but got to walk in the grass because there's no sidewalks. And I'm going to have to cross a pretty major road. It is still raining a bit. Boy, I hate the suburbs. Just like, why? This is just pretty bleak. So this is where we're going to start cheating. Because there aren't really good connections between Columbus and Toledo, we're carpooling. So I'm in the car with my parents, my sister. We're on our way up to Toledo, and tomorrow morning there are 2 trains out of Toledo to Chicago. They're both very early in the morning. One's at 5:30, one's at 6:30. So tonight we'll be staying at a cheap hotel near the train station and then getting on the train first thing in the morning on our way to Chicago. This is what it looks like when you don't have decent inner-city rail connections between even mid-sized cities. All right, good morning. It's 6 a.m. We're outside of Toledo's station. We're tired, but it's not so bad. Didn't have the best night's sleep, but we're gonna get on this train in a few minutes and head on our way to Chicago. Apparently we're not the only ones who stay at the hotel to catch this very early train. Apparently, according to our hotel, it's a fairly common thing. It's almost like people want to have options to take the train in Ohio and shouldn't have just one train in the entire state that leaves at a not insane hour. It is still very dark. It's pretty cold. We're gonna get on the train here in a minute. There's the train. Just as we are walking into the station, the train is pulling in. It is actually a little early, so we'll hop on the train and be on our way. We're waiting to board our train. This is gonna be a completely full train. Weirdly, they actually checked our tickets as we were coming onto the platform, and we have assigned seats, except they weren't assigned ahead of time. We were handed them by the conductor as we were about to get on the train. I've never had that experience with Amtrak. Ridden it in many states all across the country, so I was very surprised. Breakfast with champions. We are still in rural Ohio, Northwest Ohio. We were just waiting on a freight train to pass, and it just went past. That's one of the things that happens with Amtrak. You know, they don't own the track, so we spend a fair amount of time sitting, waiting for freight trains. That was a Coda bus, a Greyhound bus, a carpool, a hotel night, an early morning, and an Amtrak, but we are now in Chicago. While I'm in Chicago with my family, we'll be getting around pretty much exclusively on the subway or on the bus or on the L. Gotta love real public transit in the Midwest. Here we are. It's the next morning. We are on a bus on our way to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. I always enjoy experiencing all the different forms of public transit in any city I visit, and Chicago is a good one. One thing I've been really impressed by is that the subway service has been really good. The bus service has been really good. Often the bus is actually faster for the places we want to go, according to Transit app. But one of the things I think is really cool is that the commuter rail service, Metra, runs on weekends, even on Sundays, and it's not even that infrequent. It was running, I think, every half hour, which is not great, but for a commuter rail service, I thought that was pretty impressive. So we could have, we would have had to wait a little longer, and that's why we took the bus, but we could have taken Metra down to the museum pretty easily. And I think for a lot of Midwestern cities that are looking at ways to increase transit, the commuter rail service is really worth investigating. So maybe we'll have to dig in more about Metra in a future video. Yes. I have never been on a Metra train before. They are fascinating. On the upper level, there's like an open kind of hole right there. It's kind of nuts. And you've got longitudinal seating on the sides. This is crazy. So first Metra ride, kind of cool. Sorry for being a walking cliche, but when you're in Chicago, you gotta do some of the touristy things. All right, last morning in Chicago, on the bus. I'm on my way to go have some work meetings around the city. I'll be using the bus, maybe the L, and definitely the Metra a bit today to get around to different meetings with some of the people I work with here. So I'm excited to do a little bit more exploring different parts of Chicago that a tourist doesn't normally see, to meet real people who actually live here, and most of all, to get around on Chicago's really excellent public transit. Clearly, I love Chicago. Getting there was interesting, but it could be getting easier in the next few years. Amtrak's Connects Us plan seems to be gaining steam, which would have allowed us to travel by rail through Cincinnati much faster and more comfortably. The plan includes 3 daily round trips from Cleveland to Cincinnati through Columbus and Dayton, and 4 daily round trips from Cincinnati to Chicago. I, for one, can't wait for the day when you can get on a train, get work done, relax, or even sleep, and then get off the train in Chicago or Toledo for that matter. I'm confident my fellow Midwesterners will love having that option. We deserve it. And the current state of affairs of traveling the Midwest without a car is unacceptable. As we look to the future, we expect to see millions of people flock to the Midwest, which is one of the regions of the country that is expected to be least impacted by climate change. We need to invest in passenger rail across the Midwest so we can decarbonize our transportation system and so that we ensure that all of those new Midwesterners have a clean, easy, efficient, comfortable way to travel across the Midwest. I'd love to hear your reactions to today's story. Have you had experience riding Amtrak across the Midwest or some other travel across the Midwest without a car? What are some stories that I may have missed? Comment on the video or send me a note on Mastodon where I'm at MattCaff. And what else would you like to see Heartland Urbanist cover? Heartland Urbanist is originally a PeerTube channel, which is an open source YouTube competitor. You can see all of our videos there on urbanists.video 1 week sooner than they're posted here on YouTube, and those videos are ad-free. So if you like the content here, we want to encourage you to go over to urbanists.video and subscribe. See you in the next video.